A gente está aqui, na verdade, para fazer um evento de abertura da Cátedra MC de Pesquisa em Big Data. Então, nosso objetivo hoje é conversar um pouquinho sobre Big Data, dar um startup desse projeto e vou aproveitar para apresentar a cátedra para vocês, do que isso se trata. A gente iniciou a cátedra no início desse ano com o objetivo de desenvolver 3 estudos de caso de Big Data aplicados à gestão. O foco do COPEAD é gestão empresarial, então, estudos de caso de Big Data aplicados à gestão. E vai acontecer também uma disciplina de Big Data a ser utilizada em diversos cursos do COPEAD, iniciando pelo mestrado, mas que será aplicada depois em outros programas do Instituto também. Uma cátedra, para quem não está familiarizado com o termo, é um patrocínio que uma instituição privada faz para universidades, para instituições de ensino, e que é algo extremamente positivo para ambas as partes, porque a universidade, além de receber recursos para suas pesquisas, recebe acesso a dados, recebe informação para a pesquisa que está realizando. E a instituição que patrocina essa pesquisa tem um acesso mais amplo a conhecimento de vanguarda que está sendo realizado dentro das universidades. Então, é um modelo que já existe dentro do COPEAD há muitos e muitos anos. A gente tem 10 cátedras de pesquisa e é um modelo que estrutura a pesquisa da escola, muito importante para a gente. Vou explicar um pouquinho aqui para vocês sobre a dinâmica do evento, como é que a gente está pensando em trabalhar hoje. Os nossos 3 palestrantes, cada um falará de 5 a 10 minutos sobre os temas que lhes foram atribuídos e aí a gente abre para debate. O objetivo é a gente tentar ter alguma coisa mais informal, realmente de um bate-papo sobre o tema, uma troca inicial de ideias sobre esse assunto. Novamente, eu vou pedir para os celulares estarem desligados e aproveito para chamar o palco, então, agradecendo desde já pela presença, pela disponibilidade de vir falar para a gente aqui hoje. Brian Gallagher, AMC President of Enterprise and Mid-Range Systems Division. Karen Breitman, General Manager of the Brazil RD Center. E Bill Scannell, AMC President for Global Sales and Customer Operations. Please. Thank you very much.
What I'd like to do is spend a few minutes and talk about the importance of big data and how big data is transforming business. But before I do that, I'd like to kind of roll back and look a little bit about the history of data analytics and how we got to where we're at today. If you go back many years, data, first types of data that was used for business was really transactional data. It was data that was running the business, financial systems. It was information about logistics and billing and customer data and employee data and stored in databases. Those data sets were important for business and initially stored in databases that were sequential to start, if we go way back to the mainframe, and then over time developed into relational databases. And so essentially data was running businesses more from a transactional standpoint, helping businesses keep track of their business from a sales perspective, from a customer employee perspective, and help to run businesses. And so as we advanced, the world started to aggregate data into data warehouses, right? So big, data warehouses. So many companies began their journey about using different sets of data to put into a data warehouse. And they used that data predominantly for reporting, right? So reports were generated off of that data. They would capture their billing systems, their financial systems, logistics, employee, and aggregate those into a data warehouse. And when we look at that model was fine, but the value of that type of model for data warehouse was really around reporting and business intelligence, right? So that's really what people derived out of it, was figuring out, how is my business doing? You know, how is that going? And really told, you know, the what about the business, you know, and how many and how much. And when we look at that model, it was very static, right? So reports and views were created, very hard to change, very static. It was also very latent, meaning that it was usually last week's data that was run and populated into this week's data warehouse. So predominantly it was last week's information. It might be last month's information, last year's information, and it wasn't really serving in real time to businesses around the globe. Then maybe about 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago, we started to see the data warehouse become more important to businesses, not just for reporting, but data marts started to be created around the data warehouse. So if there's a big data warehouse, sometimes special projects were created around that data warehouse to serve a particular purpose. And that took time as well to move data into little smaller environments called data marts, but still the information was static and it was usually last week's data. And that helped a little bit, but then businesses started to move that into real-time transactional business processing, right? For example, insurance claims couldn't be processed in real time without having information out of the data warehouse. So they would use the data warehouse as part of their transactional systems to validate whether it was prior claims or other data that started to move into the data warehouse. So that was kind of, how we saw the world about 10 years ago, is the data warehouse became more and more critical, but it was still old data. It was very hard to change, and it was providing limited value to businesses. So as we move into today in terms of where we're at in the industry, it's really an inflection point of how businesses are using data. And Gartner has done a lot of research on this. They found that very few businesses around the globe are leveraging their data sets. They estimate roughly 20% of the businesses are really putting their data to work. And that data historically had been structured data in databases, but even other unstructured or semi-structured data, very, very few businesses are leveraging their information assets to help their business. And they estimate roughly today about 1 in 5 that have a strategy around big data. Out of those companies that are using their data, most of them, roughly about 50% of them, are using their data, their big data, for competitive advantage. They're using that information to get smarter about their business, make changes to their business model, and they're using that in real time in order to gain advantage over competition in their industry, in their competitive field. IDC has done some additional analysis on the effect of big data. And what IDC says is that they've categorized this as, or described big data as what they call the 4 V's. And the 4 V's are the variety of data, the velocity of data, I'll come back to these, the volume of data, and then the value of data, right? So what companies are using is aggregate data sets around variety. They're not only using their transactional data, but they're using social data, location services, unstructured data, file data, video data to aggregate. So that's the variety, not just database, but other forms of data. Second to that is the speed in which they can get that data into an analytics environment. And what we're finding is that to aggregate that data requires a lot of change in businesses of how they run their systems. But it's all about the speed or the velocity. The third thing is the volume of data, which is how much data. And what we found and what the industry's found is that the volume of data really, really helps. A lot of times, people will take that volume of data, whether it's sensor data, transactional data, they'll reduce it and give you summary views. But there's so much more information in the complete volume of data that can help businesses get smarter. And ultimately, the fourth V of data is around the value, which is not just the what and how many, it's why, right? It answers questions about why, and that's really the value that businesses are getting out of big data, is understanding the insights into why things occur. I often ask customers if you could take your transactional data, add in social data and location services, would that help your business run smarter? If you understood your consumer, where they were, how they networked, what their values were, how they interacted, what their social profiles were, where they were physically located and when, would that help you get smarter about your business? And most customers say yes, that would help me dramatically. And what we're seeing is that big data is transforming many businesses, from healthcare, financial services, retail, many, many examples of how big data is transforming business. In healthcare, there was some work that was done for the Center of Disease Control in the United States, where they were trying to understand the cause of diabetes. And diabetes is a disease, but it was spreading like a virus. And what they did was they aggregated social data, socioeconomic data, the economic standing of people, the healthcare providing services within regions, and they found that diabetes was actually spreading more from like a virus and less like a disease. And what that helped them with was solve the problem about better education, better programs around healthcare to control the spread of diabetes. Financial services, high net worth clients, why do they leave and go to other financial services firms? So understanding social interaction, the age of the client, what they're doing, who they interact with, their interests, to help retain high net worth clients. And then telcos are using it for keeping customers from going to other providers. Who do they interact with? Where are they when they interact? So that they can create programs about retention of customers in telco environments. And we can go on and on and on about this, many, many examples of how big data can transform business. And then finally, I'll just add that this is a journey. We're at the beginning of really an explosion of the use of big data. And what you'll see more and more and more is that today, more machines are creating information than people, right? There are sensor data that are generating petabytes and petabytes and exabytes of data on a constant basis, whether it's machine data in manufacturing environments or retail or banking and financial services. And that machine data can give valuable insights into how to make businesses run smarter and how to derive better value out of their information assets. When we look at our EMC's investment, this is a huge focus area for our company. Billy will talk about EMC and the Federation. And like I said, this is the beginning of a journey around how to make information, how to turn that into real customer value. Hopefully that was 10 minutes. I can talk for 30, but if you give me a clock, I can watch the clock.
Thank you very much. Karen, please.
Obrigada pelo convite, é um prazer estar com vocês todos. Eu queria falar um pouco de Big Data no Brasil, né? O que a gente está fazendo aqui, o que é que existe de Big Data. Bom, eu saí do mundo acadêmico para fundar esse Centro de Tecnologia em Big Data, e a primeira coisa que eu fiz foi buscar talento no mercado brasileiro para trabalhar em Big Data. Então, uma das primeiras coisas que a gente fez foi criar uma escola de verão de Big Data para ver se a gente conseguia atrair pesquisadores muito competentes. Como vocês sabem, aqui no mercado brasileiro, especialmente na cidade do Rio, é super competitivo. A gente tem mais de 15 centros de pesquisa. Então, por que não trazer o talento do Norte, do Nordeste, de fora do Brasil, né, aqui da América Latina, e tentar trazer ele para o Rio? Bom, a gente fez essa escola de Big Data, esperando atrair 50, 60 pessoas, e a gente teve 750 inscritos. Então, a gente entendeu que esse assunto de Big Data é muito importante, muito relevante para o Brasil. É muito relevante para áreas onde o Brasil foi muito atrasado durante muito tempo. A gente fala da telefonia, né? O Brasil é um país onde existem mais telefones celulares do que brasileiros. É um país de população jovem, então você imagina que um adulto tem, em média, 2,3 telefones celulares, né? Por razões históricas, etc., a questão toda da telefonia fixa, dimensões continentais. Mas o mundo de oportunidade é enorme, então a gente recebeu muita gente para olhar essas coisas. Por quê? Porque essas tecnologias têm, como o Brian disse, uma capacidade de trazer eficiências para o seu negócio, trazer maneiras diferentes de gestão, produzir, e isso a gente vai falar daqui a pouquinho, novos produtos e novos serviços para que a gente possa vender. Eu trabalho no mundo industrial. O centro de pesquisa tem um foco muito voltado para o mundo de óleo e gás, que é um mundo de indústria, que é um mundo de máquinas, é um mundo onde máquinas fabricam dados, sensores, de todos os tipos. Uma plataforma de petróleo tem, em média, 70 mil pontos diferentes de dados, produzindo dados numa velocidade de segundos, que precisam ser processados para que essa plataforma funcione de maneira eficiente, de maneira econômica e de maneira segura. Esses projetos demandam um pessoal enorme, e esses projetos têm um potencial de trazer melhorias incríveis para essa área de negócio. Quando a gente começou a contratar os brasileiros para isso, a gente descobriu que o brasileiro tem uma coisa que é muito curiosa e muito particular ao brasileiro, que é essa criatividade. E um trabalho em Big Data, ao contrário de Business Intelligence, onde a gente pensa nos dados que a gente vai usar, a gente põe eles todos quadradinhos, a gente absorve os dados, a gente transforma os dados, a gente carrega os dados e faz perguntas que estão pré-formatadinhas. No mundo de Big Data, essa criatividade dos brasileiros, essa flexibilidade é necessária e é muito oportuna. Então, a gente tem gerado resultados que são resultados que foram fazendo com que o Centro de Big Data comece a trabalhar e ganhe uma relevância não só nesse mundo de óleo e gás, mas também no setor público. Então, um dos projetos que a gente está começando agora é o projeto com o Ministério do Planejamento, onde a gente vai criar lagos de dados, né? Como é que a gente trabalha com Big Data? A gente cria um repositório muito, muito grande, que a gente chama de Data Lake, o lago de dados, onde a gente coloca dados, como o Brian falou, dados que são estruturados, que são aqueles dados que vêm dos bancos de dados relacionais, dados que são desestruturados, que são dados como arquivos em Word, arquivos em Excel, que a gente tem gerado no mundo corporativo atualmente, e hoje em dia a gente gera mais dados desestruturados que dados estruturados, e dados que são gerados por essas máquinas, pelos sensores, pelos equipamentos, e a gente coloca eles todos dentro desse lago de dados, e nós somos capazes, utilizando tecnologias, um portfólio de tecnologias que nós temos disponíveis para a EMC através da nossa federação, através de uma das componentes da nossa federação, da Pivotal, a gente consegue fazer consultas e a gente consegue fazer previsão do que pode acontecer, previsões que levam à otimização dos nossos negócios, previsões que levam à eficiência para o negócio. O retorno que seja na ordem de 250%, se você comparar com o retorno quando a gente está falando de Business Intelligence. Uma pergunta que eu sempre recebo é: Business Intelligence vai morrer, Karen? Olha, eu acho que não. Ainda é uma ferramenta muito... Ela é útil para um mundo que está ficando cada vez menor. A gente vive num mundo onde a gente gera quantidades cada vez maiores de dados, de maneira móvel, de maneira desestruturada e que precisa ser levada em conta. Hoje em dia, apenas 1% dos dados que nós geramos são analisados e são utilizados para qualquer propósito. O que nós não conseguiríamos fazer se a gente conseguisse analisar uma maior quantidade disso? E é isso que a gente tem focado. A gente tem projetos na área do setor público, a gente tem projetos na área de óleo e gás, no centro de pesquisa, mas a EMC tem a EMC Consulting, EMC Serviços, que faz e que tem gerado projetos de muito sucesso em outras áreas, nas áreas de finanças, nas áreas de saúde, na área bancária. E um caso que eu acho que é talvez o mais interessante da utilização de Big Data é a transformação que o Big Data realizou na área de segurança, na segurança da informação, né? Toda a segurança dos seus sistemas de informação, até muito recentemente, sempre foi concentrada nessa ideia de que a gente precisava segurar a nossa fronteira, a gente não pode deixar o nosso inimigo entrar. Hoje em dia a gente entende que isso é quase que impossível, a gente precisa investir em garantir as nossas fronteiras, garantir a password, garantir firewalls, etc. Mas que as invasões são quase que impossíveis de serem controladas. Os vírus que estão sendo feitos e gerados ultimamente, eles são feitos num espaço de tempo muito pequeno, onde é impossível, alguma coisa de horas, onde é impossível que a gente se proteja. Como é que a gente faz isso? A gente faz isso usando técnicas mais modernas de Big Data, onde a gente começa a entender o que está acontecendo dentro das nossas fronteiras, quais são os comportamentos. Será que um usuário está se comportando da maneira com que a gente espera? Será que aquilo é normal? Será que aquilo não? A gente consegue fazer isso, com isso, entender os ataques, seguir os atacantes e aprender com eles. Porque as técnicas de Big Data são fundamentalmente técnicas de aprendizado de máquina, aprendizado automático. A gente aprende com isso e a gente consegue proteger melhor. Então, segurança é uma das fronteiras do Big Data, é uma das fronteiras da pesquisa em Big Data e é uma das áreas que a gente está muito interessado e olhando e trabalhando fortemente aqui no Brasil, né? Segurança da informação, segurança dos sistemas e proteção desse tipo de sistemas. É uma área que eu convido vocês todos a conhecerem mais, é uma área que é fundamental. A gente acabou de estabelecer essa parceria com a COPIAD para a gente documentar esses casos. Existem vários casos de sucesso, não só no Rio, não só no Brasil, mas na América Latina inteira, da utilização de Big Data em várias áreas de negócios. A Elaine vai estar trabalhando com a gente. Essa primeira disciplina, eu acho que é a primeira de várias disciplinas da utilização de Big Data nos negócios, na gestão, no planejamento estratégico, enfim, na maneira como a gente olha os dados.
Again, many of the companies would like you to have a vertical stack and buy everything from one vendor. Well, what we've realized in the first platform, impossible. In the second platform, one company couldn't do it all. In this third platform, it would be naive to think that any one company could provide millions of applications to support billions of users and give customers choice without having them be locked in. So what EMC has done is we've organized this loosely coupled group of companies that all are empowered to operate independently, yet encouraged to work together to build robust solutions to help our customers transform to this third platform, but also to thrive and really generate a lot of revenue in this third platform. So if you think of one of the companies is Pivotal. And what Pivotal does, it's an agile application development methodology. So we can quickly develop third platform applications, applications that can take advantage of this big data phenomenon that we're in the middle of. And I'll give you an example. I was on the plane from Sao Paulo to Rio today, and the gentleman sitting next to me said, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" And I said, I don't know. My name is Bill Scannell. And he said, yeah, my name is Kevin something or other. And he said, I'm from Ohio. And I said, well, what brings you to, what are you going to Rio for? He says, I'm in the oil business. Are you in the oil business? And I said, I never really thought about being in the oil business until today, but now that we're opening an oil and gas research facility, I guess, yes, EMC is in the oil and gas business. But he started asking me about EMC and what we do, and I was talking to him about, this third platform and big data. And he said, yeah, we have a lot of challenges with that. He said, we have sensors. They develop technology for platforms of oil rigs, so above the water. And he said, we collect massive amounts of data. And I said, well, what do you do with that data? He said, we try to make good business decisions. We try to figure out, it was around stabilizing the platforms. And he said, if they're not stable, that's not a good thing. And I said, I can imagine. And he said, but what we want to do is be able to predict when there's going to be a failure so we can prevent the failure. And we also want to be able to predict when components are going to fail so we can make sure we have spares locally, because as you can imagine, having spares for an entire oil rig stocked locally is very, very expensive. And I said, great. He said, I said, what's the problem? He said, we have way too much data. He said, we have sensors everywhere, and we're collecting so much data we can't utilize it. And I said, well, that's a big data problem, because you want to be able to utilize that data. You want to be able to reason. You want to be able to ingest it very quickly. You want to be able to reason over that data very quickly so that you make good business decisions and make sure the rigs and the people on the rigs are safe and that the environment is safe. And I said, so I'd be happy to have someone reach out to you and meet with your folks and see if we can't help you develop applications to be able to take advantage of all this information. These sensors are very intelligent. They're collecting this data for a reason. So for you to ignore it is probably not a good thing, and he agreed. But if you think of the Pivotal division, we do agile application development, and then we do big data ingestion and being able to reason over that data. The second company in the Federation is VMware. And really, if you think of the trend towards virtualization and software-defined data centers, today, with the amount of servers out there, the amount of information being created, it's very expensive to buy these proprietary servers and storage. People want to use more commodity-like. So VMware is very focused on software-defined data centers and helping to virtualize servers, storage, and networking. And then, of course, EMC is the infrastructure that underlies all of this technology for storing the information, backing up the information, and making sure it's highly available. And then the fourth company within the Federation is RSA Security. So making sure that all that information that's being developed, all those applications that are being developed are secure. And we use a lot of big data technology and a lot of Pivotal technology in our RSA with security analytics. The idea of trying to keep the bad guy outside of the networks or outside of your firewalls is a fool's errand. I mean, if they want to get inside your networks or inside your firewalls, they're there. So the philosophy EMC and RSA uses is, let's look for abnormal behavior. Let's look for people who are accessing information that they shouldn't be accessing, or encrypting information within the firewalls and trying to move that outside the firewalls. When we see that, we can actually crack open a packet, look at what's going on. If we don't like the behavior, we can actually shut that user down and make sure that we verify that they are who they say they are and they're accessing data that they're meant to access. So the company is again, it's loosely federated, but we work together very closely to develop solutions that give our customers, yes, choice, but better together solutions. So again, if you look at all the activity going on with the third platform and all the applications being developed and all this big data and cloud and social and mobility, that's where this Federation of Companies is very focused on. I met another customer here in Rio today, a large telco provider, and he said, hey, it's great to meet with you. He said, but I will tell you that we're really trying to limit the amount of strategic partners we have. He said, it used to be I had time to meet with 20 or 30 strategic partners. He said, I don't have time anymore. There's so much going on that I've got to significantly reduce the amount of partners I do business with. And he said, I used to have room around the table for 20 people. I have room for maybe 5 strategic partners. And I said, well, we would certainly like to be one of those partners. I said, what are your most important initiatives right now? What are the problems you're trying to solve? And he said, well, most of them you can't do. He said, EMC really doesn't address a lot of them. I said, well, throw them at me. What are you working on? He said, well, server virtualization. We're only 50% virtualized. We want to be 100% virtualized. And I said, well, we own VMware. That's part of the Federation, and we can certainly help you with that. And we have the consulting business that can help you deploy that. He said, well, interesting. He said, but then we're trying to do virtualize our networks, but I know you guys don't do that either. And I said, well, we actually do, and that's in the Federation as well under VMware. He said, okay, so we're trying to do application rationalization. I know you don't do that. I said, no, we actually do. With Pivotal, we can help you there. everything he brought up were problems that are common across most of our customer base, and the Federation is set up to help them solve those problems, but doing it in a way that they're not locked in, that they have the ultimate choice on who they partner with and who they work with, but we can demonstrate that we deliver very robust solutions that can help them solve real business problems. So again, there's a major transformation in the industry, and EMC is designed with the Federation to help solve a lot of those problems. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you folks.